I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
All right, we're going to have a motion to call to order.
So moved.
Just need a motion from one of you.
So moved. Motion.
One, Mr. Reynolds, second.
Second.
Mr. Gibbons. All right, call meeting to order, board adjustment. February 16th, 2021. Welcome everyone here. We'll get the approval of the agenda tonight. We've got one item on the agenda for new business and a couple of housekeeping items. One regarding the oath of office for Mr. Phillips and Mr. Reynolds. We also have approval of minutes from 2020 and then some information from staff if there's anything wrong. Motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, before you approve the agenda, I just do want to clarify that to amend the agenda, we'll add an item for administrative matters between approval of agenda and approval of, approval of minutes and new business.
Get a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Phillips, Mr. Reynolds, second. With that, we'll move to the others.
You got a motion second, you might want to just take a vote.
Yeah, get a,
Okay, vote on the approval. All in favor? We have Mr. Phillips and then Mr. Reynolds.
so we got Mr. Phillips' motion,
Okay.
Mr.
All in
Reynolds'
favor?
second.
All right, unanimous, 5. All right. All right, we move on to the others. We need to get a motion to go to those.
Do the minutes first, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So for the meeting, get a motion to approve the minutes from December 2020. You guys all got that. Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Phillips, second. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. 5. All right, now on to the others.
So, and I'll let our town clerk administer those oaths for Mr. Alfred Phillips and Mr. Ed Reynolds. Like we said earlier, it's just some housekeeping items. Never had one of these on file, so that's what we're going to do. So just listen to Mr. Harvey's instructions and proceed.
If the two of y'all would stand, please. And there's a Bible on each of your tables in front of you. If you'd place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a Board of Adjustment member. So help me God. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
All right, well, with that, we'll move on to the new business. We'll start with Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the action item, well, the only action item we have on the agenda tonight is the zoning violation appeal. This is for 109 West Fire Tower Road. That's Suite A and B. So Don, will you please make a note to correct that in the minutes? It should be Suite, and there's a misspelling there. But I'm going to turn it over to Keen Laster, our town attorney, for instructions on this matter.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think most of you know me, but maybe I haven't met everybody. My name is Keith Laster. How about that? Is that better? Yeah, let's do it again. Most of you may know me, but I'm Keene Laster. I'm the town attorney, and I'll be assisting. I'm going to sort of act as a facilitator tonight, where I'll sort of MC what's going on, but also at certain times I may put on my hat as the advocate for the town, as the town attorney, and maybe speak at that time if warranted or needed. And as Brian already mentioned, what you'll be doing tonight, this is a hearing of an appeal of a decision made by Mr. Jones as the town planning director. You've already met Mr. Trapp. He's with us tonight via Zoom. And what I'm going to do is get Brian to go over the background just the chronological order of what's happened. This was in your agenda, so this will be nothing new, but I think just to sort of set the foundational stage or the foundational information. And then after he does that, we'll sort of move into the hearing itself. Mr. Chair, what I might suggest is after Brian does the foundational information, at that point in time, if you want to open the public hearing, and then we need to issue the oath to all those who will be given evidence tonight. Brian, if you want to start there.
So as already stated before, it's a zoning violation that was issued to 109 West Fire Tower Road, Suite A and B. So the appellant is Vapor Holdings LLC. That formal appeal came from a letter via Jonathan Trapp with Trapp Law Firm. So like the location of the business is Fire Tower Road. That's west of its intersection with Old Tower Road in that shopping center there on Fire Tower. The parcel number for the subject property is 59518, and the zoning district is general business. So here's just history of the zoning violation. On October 12th, 2020, Vapor Holdings LLC submitted a zoning application for a change of use at 109 West Fire Tower Road, Suite A and B, for Winter Vapes, which was described as retail in the application. I, Brian Jones, the planning director, sent the applicant's attorney, Mr. Jonathan Trapp, an email requesting a description of the retail business on October 21st. So on November 2nd, 2020, Mr. Jonathan Trapp emailed the following description, and I'll read it in verbatim. Description of retail business at Winter Vapes. Our store's sole business enterprise is the sale of vaporizers, electronic cigarettes, and related accoutrements, U-Bucks gift cards, USB charging stations, carabiners, batteries, battery chargers, stickers, decals, canned drinks, shelf snacks, gift cards, hats, and shirts, all of which are goods, merchandise to the general public for their personal or business purposes. This merchandising is the sole for-profit purpose of the store. Like many business enterprises in the town, the store offers free promotions with prize opportunities in order to increase customer traffic. These free offerings are not the profit-making purpose of the store, nor do these free offerings themselves account for any income to the store. Instead, these free offerings are designed to encourage customers to purchase the for-profit merchandise sold by the store. After that, on November 2nd, 2020, the planning department issued a zoning permit to Albritton Realty Company, which is the property owner, and Vapor Holdings LLC, which is the applicant, for the operation of a retail business. This was permitted under the permitted use tobacco store, which is really the only thing we have in our table of permitted uses that relates to a vape store. So that's as listed in the table of permitted uses. The zoning permit specified the use was for retail and used the description provided by the applicant to warrant the approval. January 4th, 2021, a violation notice was issued citing multiple violations in connection with operating an internet sweepstakes. After the violation notice was issued, we received a notice of appeal via email. Notice of appeal, Town of Winterville violations and request for interpretation, Hickory Stores 2020. So the letter was written by Trapp Law PLLC. Jonathan W. Trapp stated that Vapor Holdings LLC, by and through its legal counsel, formally appeals the violation submitted by Planning Director Brian Jones on January 4th, 2021. So on February 4th, 2021, appeal of the zoning violation was placed in the February 16th, 2021 Board of Adjustment agenda, and a notice of the appeal was hand-delivered to the subject property and mailed first class and certified to the applicant, property owner, and the applicant's attorney. And then notice was also published in the Daily Reflector. So, and that's the site history. I can run through the actual zoning violation, or if that's the appropriate time, or do you think that's?
I think we'll hold off on that. So I was also wanted to point out the last thing he just mentioned was that the proper notice was given for this hearing. So just take due note of that. I also would like, Mr. Chair, I believe you have a quorum tonight. Is that the case? We have 5. Okay, so we do have a quorum is present. If you would, Mr. Chair, if you would open the public hearing.
Okay, motion to open the hearing. Motion to open the hearing. Mr. Pierce, second by Ms. Miller. All in favor? Aye. With that, we'll open up the general public hearing of Mount Vernon Board adjustment application, for a violation, zoning violation. Anyone who wishes to speak must be affirmed or sworn in, so.
Thank you. I know Brian he's going to take the oath. So, Mr. Trapp, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, thank you. I know Mr. Jones emailed you a sheet with a couple of a consent and also a statement about the oath. I guess what we just do is to go ahead and issue both of you the oath now at this time, and then if you wouldn't mind, after we have this hearing tonight, if you could fill out that form and send it back, just so we can document, since we're doing this via Zoom, that you did take the oath tonight. Would that be okay?
I emailed a copy of the form to Mr. Jones. It's the Winterville Board of Adjustment Witness Oath. I signed it and the section about remote meeting consent.
Okay.
And emailed and sent it to him already.
Okay, well, thank you. I saw where you signed the consent at the bottom. I just missed that you hadn't signed it at the top. So if you've sent it,
I honestly, when I read it, I thought that was if I was there appearing in person.
Yeah.
I'll finish it and resubmit it. I just thought that part was if I was appearing in the room with you. That's the way I read it.
well, I appreciate that. If you wouldn't mind signing it and send it later, that'd be great. Again, we're sort of making this up as we go with these Zoom here, and so that just documents that the oath was issued. With that being said, Brian, you're going to go around and I will issue the oath to both Mr. Trapp and to Brian at the same time. Mr. Trapp, if you have a Bible there, if you put your left hand and raise your right, and do both of you swear that the information that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. That'll take care of the oath for tonight. Yes, I think so. I think now is this, since the appeal is by the appellant, we'll turn it over to him if you want to open it up to him.
All right, Mr. Trapp, we'll open it up to you to present what information you have for the board here.
Thank you, board members. Thank you for being here tonight. I see that we have a Cowboys fan in the audience. I hold no hard feelings. I'm a Washington Redskins fan through and through, but I figured I'd point that out today. I was involved in the creation of this business from the ground up. I had an opportunity to speak with the owners of the business in Las Vegas. I'm very aware of the laws here in North Carolina concerning games and what games are lawful and what games aren't lawful, and I had a chance to read the ordinances in Winterville. And when I spoke with Mr. Jones last fall, the description that I sent him was accurate. It described what this business does, and in some places they do offer the opportunity to play free games. In other places they offer the opportunity to participate in raffles and other things. And based on their marketing, they thought that this would be the means that would encourage people to come in. Now, the products that are sold in this business are the only revenue that the business takes in. And so these vaporizers, these vape products, these chargers and things like that are necessary in order for an individual to even participate in any of these games. The traditional internet sweepstakes is just a place where a person walks in, they immediately pay money, and then after they've paid this money, they go and play a game. In this instance, a person would come in, buy these products, and if they wanted to, they would walk right out. It goes completely against the idea of an internet sweepstakes because this person is not paying to play any game. This person is buying a product, and that is it. And so when the applicant for the license came in, for retail, it was because this is a retail model. I would akin it to if any of you individuals eat at McDonald's when they're having their promotion for their Monopoly game, where an individual goes and they buy a value meal. They purchase that value meal, and as soon as you buy that meal or that drink or that French fry or that sandwich, it automatically comes with that game piece that goes along, and you could win a free French fry or a free apple pie or a cone. You don't really ask for that. That's just something that you're given for free. And that is what was being promoted here at the store. I had a chance to read Mr. Jones's complaint or violation. And from my reading, it doesn't even appear that a business was ever observed in operation. And it just appears that as soon as people saw these games in this facility, they immediately posted this violation. Now, the ordinance talks about playing games of chance. Now, these games that were placed in the store were placed there strategically because these are not games of chance. These games are thousands and thousands of dollars invested in these games. They were analyzed by experts in Ohio, in Las Vegas, and in New Jersey. They're also tested by psychologists at UNC and also at the University of Florida. And these games were deemed to be games of skill and dexterity, not games of chance. And so based on those reasoning, we thought that this would be approved and meet all the guidelines set by the ordinance. And this wasn't in any way a means of subterfuge or anything along those lines. It was our understanding that based on the reading of the law or of the ordinances and of North Carolina law, that this met all the requirements and that it did not fall underneath an internet sweepstakes and definitely was not a game of chance. And if the board, after further consideration, would like any documentation verifying or showing that these are games of skill and not games of chance, I could forward them. They're each like 200 pages long, but I'd be happy to provide it to the city for your ability to review and research. And that'll be my initial statement for now, and I will hold if I have any chance for rebuttal.
Okay. If he's sort of finished his initial statement, evidence, I guess however we call it, this is a point where the board, if you want to ask him a question, you have the right to ask him a question. I may also ask a couple questions myself, but I'll start with you if you have a question for Mr. Trapp. Mr. Reynolds?
What's his name?
Last name is Trapp, Mr. Trapp. And speak into your microphone, sir, so he can hear you.
It's turned on. It's already turned on.
It's turned on, Mr. Reynolds.
Battery's low. Mr. Trapp, on your opening statement, did you say that when they paid the money, they could go and play the machines? What money?
Do you mind repeating that? I heard the last part, but not the first part. I'm sorry.
On your opening statement, you said they come in, they could, when they paid the money, they could go ahead and play the machines. Is that a true statement?
When you go into the store, sir, you're always going in and buying a product. And there are products that are on site that you would purchase, and there are also products that individuals would purchase on the website, which is called ubucks.com. And that's over 4,000 products, everything from paper towels to digital downloads. And after you purchase that product, if you so chose to play these games, you can get further money towards your purchase of U-Bucks or the products in the store that existed.
Is there any rewards on the games themselves as far as free vapor products?
You cannot pay to play any game directly, no sir. It's always a requirement to purchase a product, and after you purchase that product, if you're done, then you can leave, or if you want to play the free promotion, you can stay and play the free promotion.
I'm speaking of after the fact. If once they pay the money to buy the vapor products, they play the games, do they get any reimbursement for their winnings?
Well, the reimbursement can come in three ways, sir. Either they can use the points that they've earned to get more products in the store, they can get more U-Bucks products, or they have the opportunity to win money based on the amount of points they've played. Yes, sir. And all that is for free.
Well, is that not a game of chance then?
No, sir. A game of chance means that the players who play the game, what they're playing and how they play and the outcome of the game is based on things outside of their skill. And so I would equate that to if you and I were going out to play a game of golf. Yes, there's some luck that may come in it if you and I hit a hole in one, but your score over time is based on how well you play, the clubs you choose, the terrain that you're playing on, so on and so forth. And it's the same with these games. If you were to play one of these games for the first time, more importantly, if you didn't read the rules and the guidelines on how to play the game, your first outing would not do so well, but with practice, it would improve over time. And that's the definition of skill.
Any other questions? I did have, go ahead, Mr.
I have a couple of questions. Just to maybe better understand this, could you give us an example of maybe one of these games that you're referring to?
Absolutely. There were at least two versions of games that I was aware of that I saw myself. One game is called a fish game, and this fish game is actually a multiplayer game. So if multiple patrons wanted to play this game at the same time, there would be different objects that are moving across the screen, anything from turtles to fish to I think there's even fairies in some of these games, and you have different we'll say weapons or something to catch these different items, from nets to harpoons and guns, and you're actually competing against the other people you're playing against. And these items move across the screen, up and down, sideways. You have to know where to catch them, where to hit them, whether they have on armor and things of that nature. And depending on how fast they're moving or the way they're going, will tell you what's the best item to get, what will earn you points, what will take points away. Then there are other games or items where you have to make combinations and pick different things and move items around in order to create the greatest score combination. And you only have 2 seconds to make these decisions before you either lose points or lose that opportunity. And so those are two examples of games that would have been in the store.
All right. Is every player guaranteed to win something?
Are you saying does every player have an opportunity to win?
No, does every player win something when the game's finished, or do some players walk away with nothing?
I want to make sure I answer your question correctly.
Okay.
I don't think every player is guaranteed to win something. I think every player has the opportunity to win something.
Okay.
Would be the way that I would describe it. And the only reason why I say that is if you went in and you played the game incorrectly, if you picked down instead of going up, then you would not win. And that's the purpose and the reason why we made the games difficult, because they have to require skill. They have to require dexterity to make decisions quickly sometimes and to find patterns. And especially if you're playing a fish game that requires, me and you and other players to play against each other, that player may earn the point that you would have earned, and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't say that everyone's guaranteed to win, because it depends on how they perform.
Okay. And one more question. This one, can I pose to you, Mr. Jones?
Absolutely.
In the business description that Mr. Trapp provided, he said that this was like many business enterprises in town. Do we have other business enterprises in town that offer such a opportunity?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. If you could talk about the winning percentage, we talked about being a game of skill. Approximately, what is the percentage of wins for someone to make kind of on what scale? So 2 questions. One, like a token prize versus some significant prize. Kind of consistent with, I know there's been a lot
what normally happens is, let's say that you came into the store and you bought a vaporizer, and that vaporizer was $20. So then you had the opportunity to get 2,000 points. All right. Now that 2,000 points will either increase or decrease based on the way that you play. So when you talk about a significant prize, let's say that you, through your playing, end up with 4,000 points. So that means that you've doubled your points. Now you could take that additional $20 or 20 points and buy another product in that store. You could take that additional $20 or 2,000 points and purchase one of the items online, or you can take that additional 2,000 points and say, I'd like to just cash out. And then the store would actually pay you based on the way that you played. Now, the idea and the thought process is, well, how does the store make money? Well, the idea is that bringing people into the store and buying the product is the most important thing. And once we do that and people enjoy the activity, they've already got the benefit of their bargain. They've already bought their item. This is just an added bonus to what they get to do. So versus you going to the vaporizer store 3 miles down the road, this store will give you added incentives to come and participate. Or you just say, after a while, you realize you like this product. It's like if you were to go to, Food Line, and they'd have Tostitos chips and they'd have their own tortilla chips. Most people want that name brand because they recognize it. But then if Food Line has it on discount, that might be your incentive to buy almost the exact same product. What this store is doing is they're providing a product that may not be the biggest name brand, but it's great quality. And after you buy it and you play these games, it creates that buyer's enjoyment. And now you have that model or you have that brand that you appreciate, and you'll go back to that store, even if it's not in Winterville, if it's in Raleigh, or if it's in Fayetteville, so on and so forth. So it's a way of marketing and branding and bringing people into the store. I kind of went beyond your question, but hopefully it made sense.
If I could follow up real quick. I think you answered part of it. The other part is, if you could kind of describe, for the average player, what is their winning percentage? Are they winning a prize? And I guess what I'm trying to paint a picture of is, is this like a normal gambling establishment where I'm gonna continue playing the games because I'm winning a lot, or what's the percentage of my opportunity to win in general?
Well, your opportunity to win, there's always an opportunity to win. And so it's not like if you sit in the table, it's a guarantee you're going to lose or you're going to win. You make that decision based on the way that you play. And so I don't think it's like a normal gambling operation. It's definitely not like going to Las Vegas where the house always wins. This is the concept where if you win in this free promotion, then you're going to come back. And so by you winning, the store is getting what they ultimately want. They want you to return. They want you to buy their products and to enjoy your time in this location. And so I would equate it less to gambling and more to entertainment and fun than anything else. But I don't know if I can give you a percentage, because let's say that you have poor hand-eye coordination. But let's say that you go sit down in front of this game and you never actually read the rules, which specifically says, click here and read the rules. Look, this is how you play, so on and so forth. And all you're doing is pressing a button, or you're not paying attention. And obviously your chance of success or winning or increasing in points is going to be very low. And I have had an opportunity to test a lot of these games before they're ever even put on the market. And I don't always do well the first time. And then after I sit down and talk with the creators and they say, well, this is what this means, or this is what that means, or this is how this works. Then when I come back the second and third time, then I better understand what I'm doing. And my points increase and my level of success or going to different levels increase.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Trapp, I have a couple questions for you. I was reading through the cease and desist notice on the
Yes.
zoning ordinance.
Yes, sir.
And the definition of an internet sweepstakes sounds very similar to what's written in here. Can you help us understand why that would not be the case? Because you got electronic machines, gaming terminals. It also has for cash and merchandise, because you said there's 3 items. You can get points, you can buy U-Bucks with items, or win money. And then it says games played or predetermined odds, but it says just played, stop right there. It seems to be a
I think that's a good question, and I think that is the crux of all this, in my opinion, is an internet sweepstakes is a business where you just go in and you play a game of chance. That's what an internet sweepstakes is. You go in, the games are all that you have, and these are games of chance. And there's certain and games of chance are unlawful in the state of North Carolina. And first and foremost, especially if you win any prizes above $10. So we are not promoting that idea. And so when we talk about internet sweepstakes and we talk about this idea, when you get to I think the fourth paragraph, whether or not the value of cash is determined by electronic games played by predetermined odds, that's another instance where I think it differs. So when you have a game with predetermined odds, that means it's a game of chance. It means that before anyone sits down at the table and initiates the game is already determined that you're going to win this first round and lose the third one, regardless of what moves or what objects you manipulate or what you change. And that's what you're trying to avoid. You're trying to avoid a game that creates the illusion of control when in fact you don't. And these games provide that. And that's what makes it a game of skill.
Are you affiliated with more stores? Is your home office in Las Vegas or?
You said, am I affiliated with who, sir? I'm sorry.
Do you have other stores around that you're affiliated with?
I represent several stores across the state of North Carolina, yes, sir.
Okay, is the home office that this resides, is it at Las Vegas?
The business was originally created in Las Vegas, and I wasn't even a part of the company when they opened it up. And I think that might have just been for tax reasons, just like people used to open up LLCs in Delaware about 10 or 15 years ago because there are better tax options there. But the business, their headquarters, or they have an office here in North Carolina as well as in Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken.
So do you have a server on site?
What's on site? I hear some stuff, but not everything.
Do you have a communication server on site for the games?
I still don't know what's on site. I just hear on site.
He's asking if you have a communication server on site for the games. That was the question.
Okay, communication server. Thank you. All right. So some games require a server, and other games have all of the information, like they call it the guts, all within the game. So a fish table is a standalone game. It doesn't connect to the internet, and all the information is built inside the game. Some games are computer-based, and they do have a server of some type that connects to the internet in one way, shape, or form. Does that answer your question?
Halfway.
Okay. I now know what you're saying, but I don't know if there's another way of saying it that I can better just.
On networking, you have a home server, which are these games on that server in Las Vegas, or are they on a server in?
Oh, no. None of these things connect to Las Vegas, no, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Sir, you mentioned that that you represent or have other stores throughout the state, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That have these same gaming devices?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Have you encountered any zoning issues with those?
Well, I had one not too far away. See where it was. It was in Grifton, and after going through with the police chief and the Board of Adjustment and the Pitt County District Attorney, they were allowed to operate. They've been in operation for close to 6 years now.
All right, thank you.
I have some questions, Mr. Chair. Is that okay if I jump in? Yeah, Mr. Trapp, I've got a couple questions. Have you been in the establishment since it opened?
I was there for the inspection. I was there maybe the night before they opened, just to kind of get a look. And then I was not there, obviously, on January the 4th. But I have not been there since, I'll say, right before New Year's. No, sir.
When the inspection, that day with the inspection, I'm going to call them machines. I guess that's maybe the best word, the gaming machines. Were they on the site the day of the inspection?
No, when we had the inspection, the building was completely empty. There was nothing there. The carpet had to be ripped up, the walls had to be painted, and nothing was there during the time of the inspection with the fire marshal and the other individual, the other inspector.
But you said you've been in there roughly right before it opened up.
That's right.
How many games are on the premises?
I don't know. I didn't do a count. I can find out, go through inventory. I honestly never counted. I was just looking, kind of making sure that, everything looked intact, that it was safe, that people would be able to get in and out properly, that people would be able to social distance, that they had all the sanitation and everything they needed. I was looking at that, thinking about Governor Cooper's order and making sure we wouldn't have any issues in regard to that COVID.
We have, there's been town employees that have been in the business, and normally, of course, realizing this is a hearing, if you were here, I'd hand these to you. Unfortunately, we're separated by distance. I do have some pictures. Can you show them to him, Brian? I've got, I think, about 6 pages of pictures, Mr. Trapp, and I'll summarize. They show quite a few machines on the premises. Can he see that, Brian? Can Mr.
Yep.
Trapp? Okay. We can start on any particular one you want to. Why don't we start with this? Mr. Trapp, is this, I'm assuming this is some of the retail sales that you mentioned. Is that what that is in that picture? Well, that picture.
That's correct.
Okay. So those are some items that are being sold for retail purposes at the establishment.
That's right.
So that's one cabinet. Go to whatever the next picture is.
Well, I'm having new problems here. These files.
Bear with us, we'll get there.
All right, take your time.
And so this is just the next picture. This shows, I guess, are those games against the wall?
Those are, yes, sir.
So, I'm just trying to count what we see about maybe between the left and right, maybe 10 or something like that.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see 7 against the wall where that old woman's, the older person, that person is sitting.
Right.
Maybe 2 people, and then maybe 2 more
Yeah.
in the back, and then that monitor that's on the top is the game.
Okay.
That's just a TV screen, and it looks like we still hadn't even installed another monitor right there where that TV stand is against on the wall.
Okay. So and now these are some of the gaming tables
Those
or
are fish
whatnot.
tables right there.
Right, in the middle. So those are, I guess, multiple people can sit at that. Is that right? Is it several?
That's correct. So those are just 2 games, and then multiple people can use those games at the same time.
So there's, again, on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 8 people maybe could play. I'm not saying there always is, but roughly 8 people could play at each of those, maybe, at least that game there, and looks like maybe 5 or 6 at the one on the other
I
side.
think based on the seating and because of COVID, only 4 could play at a time. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And so just more games?
That's right.
Okay, just keep going. Now, this is another, I'm going to call it a cabinet. It's not the same one we saw earlier. So this would be another retail cabinet?
That's right.
Okay, so that's the second cabinet.
Yep.
Yeah. And then that's just another shot. Looks like that's an ATM machine, or is that a game? I thought it was ATM.
That's an ATM machine, sir.
Okay. And then here, that's the same, wait a minute, is that the same table we saw earlier, or is that another table?
That's a different.
Yeah. So that's another table and games up against the walls.
So this would be a separate room.
That's right. That's the other side. The building is made up of 2 rooms or 2 suites.
Okay.
That's
that-
all
is
the
that-
pictures I provided in the slideshow.
Well, did you have a picture of the outside? I just, one more. These are pictures of the outside. And Mr. Trapp, I know you haven't been there lately, but I don't know if you know, that's still showing that Pirates Play was the prior business. Is that correct?
That's correct. We hadn't changed the sign yet.
Do you know if it's been changed as of maybe today?
Once they kind of got the cease and desist letter, I think that they kind of held off because they didn't know what was going to happen next.
Okay.
But
okay.
I think that is a very quick and easy thing. I'm almost positive if it's not up now that it's sitting in a truck waiting to be put up.
Yeah. I think there's more than one. Is that right? I think there's that sign there, and there's
There's
maybe
one out front, but
yeah,
I don't
this-
have it in this.
yeah. There's a smaller sign. Okay. So I guess one of the things I just wanted to ask you, I mean, I don't know the square footage. It's probably somewhere in the materials I've been given, and I don't recall it. But the square footage of the building, I mean, it appears to me that the vast bulk of the building is made up of gaming machines, and there's only 2 cabinets where retail is being sold. Did I see that right?
Well, the pictures show 2 cabinets, and what I'll inform you and the board is that the store wasn't even finished. That was one of the things. When I got a notice of violation, I wasn't even sure that we were completely ready for opening, as much being told to close down. There would have been at least 2 or 3 more cabinets. There's always at least 4 to 5 cabinets, and then there's 4 kiosks where individuals can go and purchase the online products that aren't in the store, so that we aren't always looking to get trucks and upload inventory.
But I mean, as of today, I mean, there's 2 cabinets. I guess the kiosks haven't been set up yet, and the other cabinets haven't been brought in. Is that correct?
That's correct. Okay. And there would also be hats and T-shirts and snacks and drinks. Like, I didn't see any of that in the picture, and it might be because they weren't looking for it. But I know that there were, I don't know what you call them, the little hangers or places where they would hold hats and shirts and stuff like that. And so I didn't see that in any of the pictures.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's my understanding those pictures are reflective of the condition and the layout of the building when it was taken.
Do you know when the pictures were taken?
That's what I was going to ask Brian Jones if he knows when they were taken.
So they would have been taken about 2 weeks ago. I have them timestamped.
Oh, wait a minute. It says, I'm sitting looking down. I'll just read you on the handout that I was given. It says pictures taken on February 5th. That's just that's what's printed on the pictures I was given. So roughly then. So let me make sure I understand. I mean, I must admit, I don't know that I fully understand the business model. So a patron or a customer comes in, and did I understand you to say that they must buy a retail item first?
That's correct.
So you come in the door, you have to buy a retail, which you've identified in the use of the business as, I mean, it could be stickers, decals, battery charger, hats, T-shirts, canned drinks, snacks, or stuff like that. So they must buy a retail item first, and only then can they go to one of the gaming machines?
That is correct.
So if somebody walks in, I mean, it's not possible for them to walk in, pay money for a token or a credit and go play a game. They must buy a retail item first.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. So, I mean, help me understand how where are the revenues derived for the business? Where did the revenues come from?
From the purchase of product.
So the only revenues that the business makes is by the sale of retail?
That is correct.
So, I mean, we noticed in the pictures that there are a lot of games, and I think you even mentioned that, I thought I made a note that you said some of the games, or one of the games was, they're expensive. I mean, are these games that I could buy online order from Walmart or Sam's Club, or, I mean, are these special machines that come from special manufacturers and?
These games cannot be purchased at Walmart or Target or GameStop or anything like that. No, sir. These games, like I said, went through years of testing, and they come from specific manufacturers or companies that spent tens of thousands of dollars to make sure they would fit North Carolina law.
So, I mean, I guess I'm asking, I mean, these machines, I mean, they're each one are expensive? I mean, they're not inexpensive, but expensive machines?
I think to the average person, yes, they would say
Yeah.
that they're expensive.
Those big ones in the middle, I mean, they've impressed me. They've got to cost a good bit of money to own. Would that-
Yes, they do cost money, yes, sir.
Okay. Are these machines, are they being leased by, I think Vapor Holdings is the tenant, LLC. Are they being leased by Vapor Holdings?
They purchased those machines.
So Vapor Holdings is the actual owner of the machines?
That is correct.
So, I mean, it sounds like you're saying that I mean, I lost count, maybe around 20 plus machines. They've got tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in them. I mean, is that fair?
Yes, they do have several $1,000s of investment in their inventory. I wanted to follow back up with you about the sign. I know that was brought up before. I think we needed to get an additional permit to get the sign, and then once we received the violation, I think that might be why we stopped. I was going through my notes about that.
Okay. So, again, just so I understand, the revenues come from the buying of retail. There's no
Yes.
there's no money made by the business from the operation of the gaming machines.
Sir?
And your testimony is all the gaming machines are games of skill, none games of chance.
That is correct. Games predominated by skill.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else.
I have one more question. Is there a minimum purchase requirement to be able to play? Like, you have to, like, purchase something up to, has to be of a certain value before you can play?
No, but whatever you purchase will have some bearing on how many points you can play with. So let's say you bought something that was $2, then that would kind of equate to how much time or how many points you would get on the game. And then once those points run out, then you'd have to buy another product in order to get more points, more time to play, if you so choose.
Okay.
Mr. Reynolds?
On your display case, I noticed you only had one display case and you got, what, 20-some machines in there?
Yeah.
Is that the only display case you selling items out of?
I'm having problems hearing you from your side of the room. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Trapp, I think what he was saying, he was asking you, that I think he said he noticed you only had one display case and 20-plus machines. Let me add in, Mr. Reynolds, there were 2 display cases. There were 2. But you can still ask your question, Mr. Reynolds. Yeah, while we're, Mr. Trapp, I think he was just trying to verify. He said 1 display case. I think we established there were 2. and 2 display cases, and that you had 20 machines. I guess he was just trying to verify that was his question.
Okay. And what I'll let everyone know is like those display cases, the items that people will actually purchase, they don't come out of those cases. Most of the inventory is actually in the back. Those are actually display cases. And then when individuals come in and buy product, the product comes from the storage room in the back, and that's where all of it is. So those display cases don't empty; they always remain full.
Yeah, I could read it out loud. So the note on it says, attendant must verify winnings before you redeem.
Okay,
So my question for you is, what is your average playtime for your customers on these machines?
At this store in general.
Well, obviously the store either hasn't been open very long or hasn't been open at all, so in general, maybe. I mean, to be sure everything's computerized, to be sure you have statistics on your playtime and you know how long your customers are spending on your machine.
I mean, I think that I really don't know what the average is because everybody's different. Everybody has different paying habits. It's just like how many times do you go to the grocery store a week? Some people go twice, some people go 4 times. In this instance, for me to say the average time that someone plays a game, I'd say probably 20 minutes, about average.
So someone can walk in and buy a taxi from your break area and sit down and play for 20 minutes?
No, they wouldn't.
No?
But somebody could come in and buy 2 vaporizers, a vape accessory, and they would get, $60 worth of time. And so maybe they would spend 20, 30 minutes playing, but somebody who got a Pepsi, they may not be playing very long at all.
But if it's a game,
That also,
if it's a game of skill, they potentially could, couldn't
it potentially, but since you're only starting out with a certain number of points, the likelihood of you continuing is a lot less.
they? Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Keaton stepped out in just a second, Mr. Traffic, you want to pause? Please, back.
All right.
Fine.
Missed that last bit. Are we going?
Yeah, we're done with the questions from the board.
Okay.
If there's something else we need to go.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, Mr. Trips gave his information and we've asked our questions. If there's no further questions of him at this time, I think what we would normally do, this is where you would open it up if the public were here, if the public wanted to come and speak to like a variance or a special use permit, but we don't have anybody from the public, so there's no need to invite that, the public to speak. So I think where we are is.
And to further that, King, we didn't get any written request to be part of this electronic meeting.
That's right. There was the notice that was run in the paper and on the property, so the public could have asked to be a part of this, but no one did. So with that being said, I guess we're at a point where the town now, this again is a little unusual because usually the town doesn't speak, but the town is sort of a party because there's been an appeal of Mr. Jones' letter. So I thought maybe this might be a good time to let Brian, if you sort of want to give a little bit of background on why you decided to why you issued the order, the cease and desist letter of order.
Sure.
And you're under oath, so if you would.
Absolutely. Let's see here. So I was going to try to get this going. So, and I don't want to go back through the timeline, but I'll start by saying, you know, we issued the zoning permit typical of the way we usually would. An applicant, you know, fills out an application, they describe it as whatever the change of use is going to be. We'll go through our table of permitted uses, and hopefully that table of permitted uses will list it specifically. Sometimes it doesn't. Tobacco stores are kind of an antiquated or an old-timey thing now. You don't see tobacco stores anymore. So when somebody says they're going to be a retail vape store, that's the closest thing we have in our table of permitted uses. So that's what we permitted it as. And as stated before, we permitted it as we warranted that permitted zoning permit with the description that Mr. Trapp provided on behalf of Vapor Holding. So I would like to you know, point out that the very first statement in his description was it was the sole business enterprise was the retail part of it. So I think when you see the pictures of that, you can obviously see that that's not the sole business going on in that store. Retail, traditionally, traditionally a retail store, you're walking in and you're browsing stuff on a shelf, maybe picking it up, looking at it, taking it to a cash register, buying it, and leaving. So when we got notification at our office that this business was operating as it was, we went and investigated and came to the conclusion that, you know, it was in fact not a retail store. So what would it fit into? And it by our determination, it was an internet sweepstakes operation. So the violations that we cited in the zoning violations were, and I know you had this in your agenda, but I'll just run through it a little bit. So let's see here. Bear with me one second. In section 14.7 of the zoning ordinance, it lists any of the following shall be a violation of this ordinance and shall be subject to enforcement remedies. So I didn't list A because it didn't apply here, but B did. Development inconsistent with a permit. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. That's exactly what I just explained. It was definitely not consistent with the zoning permit we issued from a retail standpoint. It doesn't appear to be a retail store. They have two small cases with some vape products in it, but I would say 95% of the operation is the gaming terminals or the gaming machines. Violation by act of omission. So basically, they determined that they just omitted the fact that they were trying to operate as a internet sweepstakes. The use in violation, obviously, the to erect, construct, reconstruct, alter, repair, convert, maintain, or any use of building, construct, use of land in any violation or contravention of this ordinance or any other regulation. So I'll get into that a little bit more with the separation requirements, and then continuing a violation each day is just a continuation of that. But it goes on, the zoning violation goes on to address the special requirements of the table of permitted uses, which would be the separation requirements for such, let's just say, even if we were able to permit it, they have to have separation requirements. So the establishment must be a minimum of 1,000 feet from any building used as a dwelling. So that's any residence in the area has to be 1,000 feet from it. There is not another internet sweepstake business, so that doesn't apply to this one. But it must be 1,000 feet from a religious institution or a church, a school, a daycare, a library, a public park, or recreation area. And I'll point out in just a second how it violates those. Before we are able to even process an application for an internet sweepstakes, the applicant would have to provide a survey showing that straight line detail that is in compliance with all the separation requirements. Obviously, we didn't receive that because they didn't apply for one. But I'll show you here. So you can see the business is located here at the convergence of this vertex of the red lines. Following this line down to Cornerstone, it's a residential subdivision, that's approximately 550 feet. I was conservative on the 550. That's a measurement off of Opus, so we use GIS measuring tools. If a survey, I think, would probably show it a little bit closer, but on the conservative side, just for illustration purposes, 550 feet is what we're showing there. Obviously, that's a lot less than 1,000 feet. And directly behind the subject property, we have a daycare center. This is East Carolina Kitty College, and it's approximately 290 feet away from it. Again, that's a conservative measurement, but obviously well within the 1,000 feet limitation that the ordinance spells out. That's kind of where we are on it. That's what we saw as a staff in the planning department. That's why we went forward with the zoning violation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions on our procedural or questions directly related to the violation.
Is there any questions of the board of Mr. Jones?
I have a question. This part that you're pointing out, what exactly are you trying to do with it? This section of land.
So this is where this is actually the subject property in question. This is where the quote unquote retail store is located. So you see Fire Tower Road, Old Tar over here. This is the BB&T right here, and this is where the business is located. So this would be the actual. That's the front of that building. So the vertex of those red lines is directly on top of that building right there. So you can see. So the Pirates Play sign would be right in this area right here, if you can see it.
Quick question for you, Brian.
Mhm.
It's A and B suites that they've got taken up with two cases, that's it, correct? Do you want square footage of that place?
It's big. I would say it's, I don't know the exact, but it's over 5,000 square foot, I would think.
Mr. Kraft, have that information?
Mr. Trapp, do you have that information by chance?
I don't know the square foot off the top of my head, but I can get it for you. Hold on a second, I'll find out shortly. I gotta look at the lease.
But
I have, I've been provided by Mike Brown, who's building inspector for Winterville, a copy of the commercial building permit application. And it's the one that relates to Winter Vapes, which is the name of the business. And the owner is All Britain Realty Group LLC. On the second page of it, under project specific information, building description, it says total square feet, 6,344. Now, yes, the property address is A and B, so I think that is the square footage for both of these properties, 6,300 square feet.
I would like to also point out, can I ask a question to Mr. Trapp?
Sure.
Mr. Trapp, how do you enter the business?
Well, if we go back to that initial picture where I guess that sign is, that is where you enter and exit.
So I guess more specifically, do you know the procedural, the procedure of going into the building? That's what I'm asking, not the location.
Well, the procedure is supposed to be that there's a mag lock at that door and that people are invited in and allowed out. So it's not just like a normal door where you just open and come in freely, but they control entry and exit of the building at that door.
So just to be clear, I have to go up and press a button and be buzzed in to gain entry of the store, right?
That's correct. And there are multiple reasons for that.
I'd be willing to hear those reasons.
All right, well, first is we want to make sure that we control the amount of people that come into the business. One of the requirements by Governor Cooper is to make sure that we keep a certain capacity of patrons in the store at all times. Also to make sure that individuals are wearing masks before they come in, and also control the amount of people who are going out. So that allows us to control traffic. And also allows us, if if there's ever a need to walk people to their cars or whatever it may be, it allows us to kind of control that as well.
So are you saying that after the COVID order expired from the governor, the buzzer on the board is going to go away?
I don't believe so. I still think they want to control who and how many people are in the business at all times. It just allows us to maintain safety for the people inside, and that they always feel, comfortable.
So you're not maintaining a 6-foot separation from machines?
Is that a question? Are we maintaining the 6 feet, or was that?
That's one question. He's at, Mr. Reynolds was asking if you guys maintain a 6-foot distance on the machine.
I couldn't really tell from the pictures, but yes, that's the need and expectation and requirement.
He said that that's the need and requirement they had been into the business to verify that.
Yeah, Mr. Trapp, Mr. Jones has stepped out of the room for just a moment. He's finished with his testimony, and you certainly have a right to question him. He should be back in just a moment, and if you have any questions for him, we'll be glad to receive them then.
Okay, thank you.
We take just a break. He stepped out of the room for just a moment.
Oh, okay, yeah, we can ask that when we get Ron back in here. So we do have one more question.
Okay,
Track.
okay. Okay. Mr.
Mr. Trapp, there was one more question from the board, and I apologize for that. Mr. Reynolds had a question regarding occupancy and what the total occupancy was of the area, I guess, inside the A and B suite.
Well, occupancy based on COVID or just occupancy in general?
COVID or standard occupancy? So the fire and COVID is what Mr. Reynolds is looking for.
All right, well, based on COVID, I think each suite can hold up to 30 people. So you could have up to 60 people to meet COVID regulations. And then once COVID has been, if it goes away and it is eliminated or terminated or disposed of or made safe, I think that number could increase. I don't recall what the amount was for 6,000 square feet after COVID, because we're kind of on the mindset this may last and linger for, at least another year. So we never even stopped to see what that requirement was.
Yes, Mr. Trapp, Mr. Jones is back with us now, and as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions for him after his testimony, you're certainly welcome to ask him.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, you mentioned that the basis of your cease and desist letter was the fact that there are games on site and that there are already ordinances dealing with internet sweepstakes. Is that right?
I'd say that's correct, yes, sir.
And you mentioned that there was, I guess, a square footage requirement to be a distance away from daycares and churches and I believe residences. Is that correct?
Not a square footage, it's, it'd be
distance.
It'd be a distance, calculated, within 1,000 feet.
Okay. And if in fact this is not determined to be a internet sweepstakes as it is actually defined by your ordinance, those distances would not be relevant to our conversation. Is that correct?
Yeah, the special requirement 44 is specifically related to internet sweepstakes.
it's my understanding that we're supposed to interpret each town ordinance as it is written, correct?
Interpretation?
Yes, the interpretation. It's supposed to err on the side of like what it actually says versus what we want it to say, correct?
So as a zoning official, the interpretation, yeah, I think is black and white. As it's written is a good way to start, absolutely.
Okay. And if in fact these are not games of chance with predetermined odds, then it would not meet the strict definition that was written or compiled by the town of Winterville in their ordinance. Is that your understanding?
That would be
Based
my
on that.
understanding, yes. Game of it would be, if it was a game of skill versus a game of chance, yes.
I have no further questions, guys.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Trapp. I've got, on behalf of the town, I guess, we have one more witness. Put this down. Mr. Trapp, we've been joined by a Winterville police officer. He has been in the business. I'll let him tell more about that in a moment. He'll just give some testimony about what he saw when he was in the business. He has asked that his name not be broadcast due to the, I guess, sensitive nature of his job. So, unless the board has any opposition to it, I'm going to ask that we're going to swear him in, and again, he'll identify himself as a Winterville police officer. We just won't take his name and get him to give some information about what he saw in the business. Would you place your left, raise your right hand. Do you swear that the information you're going to give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know, can everybody hear the officer? I'm just going to refer to him as an officer. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You're a employee of the Winterville Police Department?
Yes, sir.
You're a sworn police officer for Winterville?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've worked you've been a sworn police officer for about how long?
2.5 years.
Okay. You've had an opportunity to go into the business that we were referring to tonight. That's known as Winter Vapes. Have you been in the business?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And could you tell us when you went in?
When I went in, I did have to get buzzed in at the beginning. When I got to the door, I tried to pull on the door, and the actual worker inside buzzed me in. And once I went in, I did see the clear case with the vapes at the door in the entry. And then I walked to I guess it's the central station where the money is being taken. I asked questions about the games, and they informed me that the games were, you had to pick a number on the games, and once you picked the number, then you gave the employee the money, and he would type in some, on a small keypad, he will type in some of the, some keys, and then he'll start the game for you. And then once you play your game, and if you win or if you lose, you are able to get that money back.
So to make sure, and you're, did you go in, what day did you go into the business?
Today?
Today. And were you in uniform when you went in?
No.
Okay. But you're in uniform here tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you went in, you said you actually paid somebody money? Is that?
Yes.
How much did you pay?
Total of $100.
Okay. And so you gave somebody $100 cash?
Well, I started off with 20, and then as I went to different games, I used more money.
Okay. But you gave that money to what you, I guess, was an employee at the business?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And after you say the first time you paid $20, you selected a machine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you told them, I want to go play that machine, and you gave them $20, and they turned the machine on for you?
Yes, sir.
And you could play the machine for, I guess, as long as you were winning, or was it?
Until the money ran out, yes.
Oh,
Until
okay.
the money ran out.
And now you were up for a while, and then you were down for a while. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So, all right. So you didn't actually make any
No,
money?
I didn't make any money, no, sir.
Okay. Now, when you went in, did you have to buy a retail item first before you could play the game?
No, sir.
So did you buy any retail item?
No, sir.
Okay, so you just went in and said, I want to play the game, looked around and talked about the games and selected the game?
Yes,
But
sir.
you bought no retail item?
No, sir.
Okay, and you spent $100 in there and didn't come out with a shirt or a hat or, okay.
No, sir.
Now, so you lost, you lost the money, but did you witness anybody else in there that was maybe winning money?
I witnessed someone leave when they had money left over. It wasn't a winning, but they decided to quit, and I witnessed them actually get the money back
Okay,
that they left on the machine. So the guy came around, got to the machine, saw it, and once he hit a button on the machine, he went back up to the counter and then gave him the money back.
okay.
And then that person left.
So that was the money they had, were those winnings, or was that money they actually had put in?
It's probably money they put in. I don't think they won anything. I think it was just like, all right, I'm done. So
Okay,
if they lost $10 and then they just had 10 left over, and that was just the remainder.
okay. Were there other people in there while you were there? I mean, you
Yes,
saw
sir.
at least one other person. Were there other people in there?
Yes, it was approximately about 10 other people there.
Did you see anybody else when they came in, bought a retail item to go and then play?
No, sir.
Yeah, but you didn't see anybody buy a retail item?
No, sir.
I don't have any other questions for the officer. Mr. Trapp, if you have any questions for the Winterville police officer, he'd be glad to answer them.
Absolutely. I'll just refer to you as officer since I don't know your name. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you said you entered the business today around what time?
2:45 p.m.
So when you entered the business and you talked to the person at we'll say the reception area, the area you paid money, did they give you some type of receipt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever read that receipt?
The receipt had the number on the number of that you're supposed to put in to start the machine.
Was there any other information on that receipt?
Not,
About you?
I'm sorry,
I
sir.
don't know if you still have any of the receipts. But was there any mention of you purchasing U-Bucks when you paid this money?
No, there's no mention of U-Bucks.
Did you read it?
No, I didn't read it, no, sir. But no one mentioned it. No one mentioned it that it was U-Bucks.
When you made your purchase the first time, you got a receipt. Did you get a receipt the second time?
No, I didn't.
So you got no receipt after your second purchase?
No, sir.
Did you get any further receipts or anything after any other times of purchase?
No, sir.
Did you notice any other individuals get receipts when they came in for their initial purchase or any of their other purchases?
No, sir.
So you're the only person who got a receipt?
I'm the only person that saw a receipt. I didn't say that I was the only person that I'm the only one that I know for a fact that I have a receipt. I didn't look at other people getting receipts.
Do you recall what game you played?
The first one was the big machine in the middle of the floor.
Call it the fish tank.
The fish tape, yeah, the big machine. And then the second one was along the side of Fire Tower, along that wall there. I played those games. And then the third time was a part of the back room, the back side, where you go between where the ATM is. You go between there and the back. And I played that machine.
When you played any of those games, did you ask how to play the games? Did you read any of the directions? Or did you just start playing?
I started playing.
Did you ever stop and ask what to do or how to do it or even go to the instructions on any
No, sir.
And you mentioned that you spent about $100 and you didn't get anything in your time playing, correct?
No, sir.
Every time you went to play the game, you had to go back to that person and they kind of loaded your information, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you have to give your name or any information in order for them to put it into the system to kind of build your account?
Yes, sir. You have to give your ID to, well, they ask for ID to have your, to start the game.
Well, I don't know if this is a question or a suggestion, but based on what you've described for me, it sounds like you have $100 worth of U-Bucks stored in your account. So,
Not on the first game. I didn't receive that on the first game. The games along the wall, those are the games that they said, oh, you need your ID for. But the game in the middle, you just gave $20 and went in there and you played.
all right, well, if you do return to the establishment and show your ID, they'll be able to help you find where your U-Bucks went and how you can use them to purchase other items. Did you ask any other questions before you left after you played your last game?
Yes, I asked how can I get if I win, how can I get my money?
Okay, and what did they say?
They said that they can actually hit the button. It's a when you hit log out and the screen rolls, you hit actually your amount that you won. You remember the amount that you won, and then once you hit that amount, then you can get your money back. And then that's when you get your money back.
So is that what you did?
Yes, sir.
And what happened when you did that?
With the store employee went back to the central station, and then he gave me money back. Went into the drawer and gave my money back.
So you got your money back?
Yes.
So you didn't lose $100?
No, I got the money back from the sorry, I witnessed a lady get her money back from the actual, the game. I'm sorry.
I have no further questions, Council.
Okay. I have no further questions of the officer. Do any of you have any questions of the officer?
I did actually
Good.
have one, officer. Did you actually get a vape? Anything?
No, not at all.
I didn't ask, but I didn't.
Not at all.
Okay.
So you didn't make any retail purchase to play that?
Not at all. No, sir.
Okay. All right, officer, thank you. Appreciate your time tonight. Okay. Mr. Chair, with that being said, I think the town's evidence has been submitted. Mr. Trapp, is there anything further you'd like to say or do or submit?
I mean, I don't know how I would submit this, but I have the employee contract for Winter Base that, I don't know if I can email it to someone or what, that explains the requirements for every person in order to work at the store. And so I don't know who was working today at 2:45, but it specifically says that, you know, what the purpose of the business is, and that every employee, no matter what, must sell a product, whether a U-Bucks or a vaporizer, USB charging station, U-Bucks gift cards, carabiners, batteries, so on and so forth. And so I'm almost tempted to say that, hey, I want to get video footage of what happened to see what happened and who did it, and also have the employee come and explain what happened, because I have no idea we were going to get testimony about what happened today. And if I knew, I would have employees present to rebut what was said or what actually happened. I'm not saying that the officer was lying, but it might be that he wasn't aware that he did receive the product, that his employee did not make it clear to him. That's kind of my 2 cents on that one. But I'd be happy to send the employee contract just to verify what their
If you want to send them to Mr. Jones, that's certainly within your right to do so. Mr. Chair, was there anything you were looking at me? I didn't know if you wanted to ask me a question. Yeah. Okay. I think we're at the point now where all the evidence has been submitted, and so the way I envision this going forward, Mr. Chair, is that here in a moment you'll close the hearing, and then I sort of want to give I'm going to put my sort of MC, facilitator hat back on and sort of talk about what we're going to do, and then, sort of turn it back over to you.
I get a motion to close the public hearing. Motion to close the hearing. Mr. Reynolds, second. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Get that, everybody else use the slide.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure you're aware of this. I think most of you served on Board of Adjustment for a while. I mean, this is a quasi-judicial board, which means it has some of the qualities and characteristics of if you went over to the courthouse and sat in district court or superior court. We see some of that here. We swear in witnesses. We'll talk about findings of fact in a minute. So you do stuff very similar to a court, but there's certain things that you would do in district court that you don't completely follow here. So what your role, what you're here doing tonight and what you do with each of these hearings is your job is to determine what you believe are the facts. You're the finder of the facts. Just a couple thoughts. You're not limited in your consideration of evidence as what would be admissible as you might be in court. I'll talk in just in a minute about hearsay or opinion testimony. Up at the courthouse, you can't do that within certain constraints. But here, it's allowable, however, with certain limitations. Your duty is to gather evidence and receive evidence that you consider to be pertinent. So from what you've heard tonight, what evidence do you consider to be pertinent? But the Board of Adjustment must base any required findings on competent, material, and substantial evidence. Hearsay evidence. Crucial findings of fact may not be based on hearsay evidence. Hearsay evidence that's the reason why it's inherently unreliable. Hearsay evidence, of course, is where I say that if my neighbor were here, he would say he's in favor, not in favor. The neighbor needs to come in and speak for himself. I can't speak for the neighbor. So opinion evidence is not admissible unless it's made by experts who are qualified to give such opinions. And I'll speak as, I guess, again, as the facilitator tonight. The burden is on the appellant. The burden is on Vapor Holdings LLC to come forward with evidence to show that the decision made by Mr. Jones was an incorrect or wrong decision. And in order to do that, Vapor Holdings would have to present you with evidence that decision, was wrong. And I mean, I would submit that we've had no evidence to indicate that the machines are games, or the games, if you will, they're games of skill. We've had no, expert testimony or no other evidence to indicate that those are games of skill. I could sit here tonight and say, well, they're games of chance. They're games of chance. But in order to do that, I think I would need to have an expert here tonight to say that in the expert's opinion, and the expert who's dealt with those machines, the machines are games of chance. And I would submit that we've had no expert testimony tonight that the gaming machines are games of skill. But that's, again, of course, what your ultimate decision is tonight is what was the pertinent evidence to allow you to make your decision. The decision tonight is based by simple majority. It's not a four-fifths decision like you have to do in other instances. So you've got 5 people. We just need a simple majority to either uphold the appeal or to deny the appeal. Are there any questions of me? And Brian, do they have a copy of the information? The opinion that we. Yeah.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about.
Okay, the
Decision there? No.
yes, they don't have that. Okay. I think tonight you're going to need to make that decision of whether or not whether you uphold the vote of or the prior decision of Mr. Jones, or whether you ultimately decide that the appeal is correct. And what I would submit is that if you do find, depending on which way you're indicating that you want to go, we need to identify some findings of fact moving forward. Yeah, yes, sir.
Complicated case, and I know that the state of North Carolina has been back and forth about changing the rules about internet sweepstakes, so to speak, and the rules have changed over the years. Even the last 5 years, it's changed several times, and companies are adjusting their games to fit the rules, and so I acknowledge that also. I think it's very difficult to determine the difference between a game of chance and a game of skill. And based on that, it's very hard to classify a company. To me, it's internet gambling, or I've seen it for my whole life. I've seen it in different forms and fashions. And so that's my question. It's playing a fine line, and those rules have changed, and it's hard without an expert getting into the insides of those games or really explaining how they really work to pin it down to a probability.
once I heard the testimony from the officer, didn't purchase a retail item. I think, I guess my decision was kind of changed at that point, so that's how I feel.
Anything else?
Not on the,
Mr. Phillips?
Once I heard the testimony from the officer and stuff, I feel like, in one or two, I feel like it's a gambling place. But everything, that's exactly what I feel like it's a gambling place, but I don't really know. But I feel like it is.
Anything else?
Yeah, the initial impression made it seem like this was a free retail business where you went in and bought fake products and then you got some kind of credit for the damage. But as it unfolded, it seemed like from an officer's testimony, that you pay some money and you get some type of V-Box, which is your trade for the ability to play the games, which seems like these classic cyber cafes that we've seen in the past, and not so much like the retail business. It's odd that a retail business has, the door is locked 24 hours a day. You love to go spend money in retail. It's not a high-end jewelry store where you've got $10,000 balance.
I had one question. Was in the packet, Brian, the actual retail? I thought I saw that somewhere. What retail was defined at?
I'm not sure if we,
I see, 'cause we got internet sweepstakes, and that's what the violation that we made an assumption it was, but what was the definition of the retail establishment? Do you understand what I'm asking?
I think it was in his presentation.
I thought it was too, but I wasn't sure. I thought it was somewhere. Thought maybe that would be.
so, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what,
I do the whole thing.
So, did you have that, Brian?
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, it's got the violation of the order of what it was, but per the zoning compliance, the business type of described here is described as retail. The zoning compliance is issued for a retail tobacco selling store, vaporized electronic cigarettes, and related accoutrements, U-Box gift cards, earbuds gift cards, USB charging stations, carabiners, battery chargers, stickers, decals, canned drinks, shell snacks, gift cards, hats, shirts, all of which are goods, merchandise to the general public for their personal business, or for personal or business purposes. And if you read the violation and remedies in section 14.7, it says any of the following shall be a violation. And what the testimony I heard was a direct violation of that. And if any of those aren't met, it's a violation. Is that a correct statement?
I would agree, yes.
Okay, so just want to make sure I put that out there, and make sure I was on the same thing. Anything else from the board before we do the statements of fact for the case? You guys good with that? All right, so this is all of the information we talked about. Of course, it's to the operating company and Vapor Holdings, they both were notified. The subject was the appeal. You read the whole thing, Team, or just the statement?
I think the findings down there,
All right, so the findings there were 6 of them. Vapor Holdings LLC leases certain real property described as 109W West Fire Tower Road, Suite A and B. The property is located on Fire Tower Road west of its intersection with Old Bar Road. 2, I guess we vote on each one of those.
no, I think just voted in.
The property is classified as general business in the zoning ordinance. Number 3, the notice of violation alleges Vapor Holdings LLC to be operating as a internet sweepstakes. Number 4, the notice of
I've got 'em right here.
violation cites the following violations: development inconsistent with permit. B, violation by act of omission.
I have, to go along with those findings of fact, to add to down to the bottom, I think there was, what, 6 of them, findings of fact?
Yes, total.
And 3 more. One, there was an ordinance in effect at the time of the interpretation. That's the section 14 that you mentioned. The ordinance was in effect. Number 2, that the officer who made the decision had the authority to make that decision. That officer is referencing, of course, Mr. Jones. And then number 3, that the officer.
I think the term should be administrator.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, the administrator. The administrator did have the authority to make the decision, and that the administrator did correctly interpret the ordinance. So we'll add those 3 to what you just read.
So basically, if any of these findings of fact are found to be true, we would vote to uphold the ordinance, correct?
I think what we need to do is, if the board is so willing, is to vote to approve the findings of fact, and then we'll vote to actually, then the second vote would be to uphold the ordinance. Again, that's, uphold his decision, not the ordinance. Uphold the decision.
So we get a motion to vote on the findings of fact, top 6 here. Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Miller, second, all in favor? Brian Reynolds?
So as an alternate, you're able to deliberate and question, but not, your vote wouldn't go toward the
And
the
I think,
actual.
I just want to make sure, did we have in favor, was that 5? I don't like,
5 in favor.
5, to find,
The fact and agreement, which was total 6 of those, right?
yes. Well, 6 plus the 3 we read.
Right. Okay. You guys hear all those clearly? Mr. Reynolds?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the first and the second.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then I think,
Yeah, that's,
yeah.
okay.
And then lastly, we need to have a motion to vote to uphold the decision of Mr. Jones.
So we need a motion to uphold the, or to uphold the decision of Mr. Jones. We need a motion to vote on to uphold or not Mr. Jones' decision. Now, do we? Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Miller, seconds. All in favor? Aye, that's 5.
Okay.
All right, so that's the vote for the motion, but now we've got to vote individually on that, or we're saying,
No, I think they said you approved the findings of fact as a body.
just to be clear, you guys are upholding the motion, correct? Okay, just want to make sure
Yeah.
that's clear out. All right, that's 5.
Okay. And I think that, now, of course, we've ended the public hearing, but I believe, Mr. Jones, is there anything I've missed? I think that takes care of, we got to vote, takes care of everything with this matter.
I think it may be prudent just to go on the record to say that based on the foregoing, or based on the findings of fact and the conclusions of law, that the BOA did uphold the zoning administrator's decision.
Okay. We just entered that into the minutes. Okay, thank you.
Good motion to, is there any other reports from staff or anything?
Oh.
Or we move on, or anything else? I think this new business is closed, right?
Yeah.
New businesses.
Yeah, I was going to, Mr. Trapp, I think you're still with us. You're welcome to stay with us, sir, if you'd like to. We're going to move on to other matters that don't regard the appeal.
All right. Will I get something in writing based on the decision of the board?
Yeah, you'll get a decision signed by the Board of Adjustment.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pratt. Any other reports from the staff?
Nothing, I think we've had enough for tonight, don't you guys? I will say that we got some things upcoming that will potentially affect this board. We've got some more zoning amendments coming up. I know we talked about the 160D updates for the state legislation stuff, for the statutes. We got some just architectural review stuff coming through zoning board, so zoning of ordinance amendments that could potentially affect us with future site plans on multifamily stuff. So we're able through state statute to regulate architectural design features on multifamily structures. The way it's set up in our ordinance, all those multifamily proposals and developments would come through the board for a special use permit. So you guys would review those and make sure that fits into the ordinance requirements. So as it stands now, we don't require any architectural design standards, but like I said, we have the ability to do that as a town. So that's what we're going to take to council, see if they're willing to put those in. I think it's needed. It gives us the ability to dress those up. And it also just gives the council and the citizens who are concerned about it just some assurances that those types of developments will continue to look nice and be a good addition for our town. Just look for those, and I'll update you as necessary. But other than that, you guys saw my monthly reports in there. If you got any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.